There's this, I'm calling it the Asbury event to avoid, I mean, people are calling it the Asbury revival. Asbury is a school, Kentucky, isn't it? Yeah. And I have former students that teach there. I know nothing about what's there except what's on Facebook. So I know nothing more than you do. You combine that with the popularity of The Chosen, which is, if you don't know, it's this crowd-funded TV series about the life of Jesus. And that's understating it dramatically because it's cinematic and it is fantastic. And we've just finished season 3. Notice the we language. And season 4. Oh. Small group. Say that again? Started it in small group. Yeah. Well, we went to the Christmas special as a Sunday school class or whatever. This weekend is the movie The Jesus Revolution. We're going to watch an interview with Kelsey Grammer about it in a second. About the Jesus movement, which is the predecessor to me. The movie set about 69. I was 12 in 69. Were any of you born in 69? Yay! And you were 1.
I survived 60. 4 months. 4 months.
So,
Yes? Oh, really?
Kevin was in the 60s. When were you born? So he and I are the same generation. Anyway, and Tom, the Jesus Revolution fed right into the charismatic renewal at Notre Dame in 1970. And then there was an Asbury revival in 1970. And that's what I came into, was that whole movement. I grew up my parents were atheists, or agnostic, more accurate. But their drinking buddies went to the Baptist church, and they took me every Sunday. So I was raised in a Baptist church and met Jesus. I got born again 3 different times. In a Baptist church, that's always different. I don't care if Donald has to walk the aisle every week. You can get a donut. And so my friend Gordon, who is a pastor at Tulsa Christian Fellowship, the guy I go to Ukraine with, twice a year back when I was doing that, he is a direct result of the Jesus movement. And the center of Tulsa was Peoria back then. And the kids used to drive up and down Peoria on Friday night. And he and his friends opened up. That really happened. And then it switched to Memorial when I was at ORU. It was on Memorial. But in the early 70s, there was Peoria. And he opened a tea house in on Peoria that continues today as a residential drug rehab center. That he is part of. They have like 3 houses where he lives. So these things were quite profound in their way. People knew about it, but how much impact? Because people want to compare it to the Great Awakening. Well, the Great Awakening, the country had the population of New York today, just a city. So it was a different ballgame. And when I look, well, instead of just talking about it, why do I search for it? Now, see, if Daniel were here, he could help me. But
not Daniel, sorry about You never used that before? It hides your-
What can I help you with, Don?
Well, anytime I search for anything, I get this stupid. I've talked to you about it before.
Oh,
Look,
I
we're
see.
gonna watch this interview on Tucker Carlson. This is the student body president of Asbury. And it's, well, we'll just watch it. So Asbury's announced an end date yesterday, last night, because apparently it's a traffic nightmare. And they just don't have the logistics. Now,
It's
I don't know what it
security, too.
is. What?
It's security too, because with so many people coming in and out, it's kind of hard to keep up with that. Plus, they still have an institution there that people are in class and stuff. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's supposed to be anyway, right? So okay, what's going on? How do I do this? Okay. So that's going on. And some people wonder, is this a revival? I don't know about you. What is that noise, Jeff? That's external to our speakers, right?
You turn the power off.
I know, but I don't want it because we're about to watch two more.
Oh. What noise? What noise?
So, like you, I saw this stuff on Facebook. Like you, I assume. I'm an old man. I do have Facebook. I have the only Twitter I look at comes through my Facebook. And I just didn't know what's going on. I felt no need to pass a judgment one way or the other. What I was looking for, though, were people going to try to capitalize on it. And I have not seen that, though I bet it's out there. So, but that interview with Tucker Carlson, that was Tucker Carlson. That's pretty big news. B, she handled herself exceedingly well, I thought. B, at my age, I cry at anything. So I'm watching this, I get weepy. It's a freaking beer commercial, and I go, I don't know. I actually talked to a shrink about it, but, well, a counselor at our Thursday night thing. Anyway, come out. How is this affecting anything?
Is it?
Your chair is.
You know what it is?
It's not touching anything.
Your chair, Dad? Is it?
Shooting range.
I know.
Yeah. I wouldn't even say that part.
So, I'm assuming you know what The Chosen is. Okay, that the phenomenon of that is monumental, hundreds of millions. And you're just going, Asbury Revival, you got this going on. Same time, at the Grammy Awards, they do that 5-minute little satanic ritual in the middle of the awards. Hopefully you didn't see it. I didn't see it because I don't watch that crap. But they were celebrating it. This is that contrasting culture. Notice she made reference to her being a COVID generation. Taking it back to 2020. How their lives were impacted. So I see Jesus doing something. So I'm going to show you this interview with Kelsey Grammer about the Jesus Revolution. And I'm going to show you the trailer of that. But this is his take on it. What did I do?
Sorry, dog. You did stop share.
Oh, sorry.
Here's to the healthy heroes.
And how do I?
This is our refuge, where we forage fresh produce.
Doesn't that look like a movie you'd want to see? I'm going Saturday.
So is it out now in the theater?
It's this weekend.
Or this is-
It's one of those, whatever that company is, Prime Events, whatever it is. So it's like Friday and Saturday. They may have open extra showings. You can look it up. So what do we make of all that? So you get on the Grammys a satanic ritual event. I mean, it's a dance number, but he touted it as such. And then The Chosen, Jesus Revolution, Asbury Revival. What do you think's going on? Now, this is driving me nuts.
Are you done showing videos?
Yes.
Was that right?
That was a-
Can you hear me over there?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I do want to mention something. I guess I don't know enough about it to say one way or the other, but if we're going to reference something that you haven't seen, then we shouldn't make judgment on what we haven't seen. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that's my point. On Asbury, you mean?
No, I mean on the Grammy thing you mentioned. I didn't watch it, so I don't know. But you didn't watch it either, so you don't know either.
Oh, I did watch it on clips.
Oh, okay.
And after,
You said you
and
didn't
I'm
watch
also
it,
going
so I
off.
was-
It's what the guy itself described it as. So it's not like I looked at it and said, that's satanic. No, that's what
Okay.
he said it was. So,
Fair enough.
okay. If you're gonna call it that, we'll go with it. He's got some pushback. So, yay.
Well, but maybe what he didn't see, which I did, that he was given a standing ovation by people that didn't even agree with it. And when a worship team, Maverick City, got a Grammy, the guy got up there and used it at the time to say, this is the time to follow Jesus, and that this is the reason we do what we do, and gave a beautiful, just basically without calling him out, saying, you know, we are
Contrast.
here- Yeah, we are only here for Jesus, and no one even clapped for him. And so, you know, I think that, and I'm grateful for this, there's a divide being created. And I'm thankful for it, because I think we're coming from a gray perspective where absolute truth, love, you know, love is love. All of those things have muddied the waters, and people are now hungry for the truth. And, you know, Dawn and I were talking yesterday about, you know, evangelical leaders are trying to figure out what's sincere and what's not, and what's real and what we can replicate and things like that. But the truth is that if it's not real, it will die. It will not bear fruit. And so we don't even have to worry about those things. What I don't want it to take away from all these amazing things that are happening, and Dave McKelp referenced it, the same thing today was,
Dave, he preached already?
posted
Oh.
today, just that same spirit, that same Holy Spirit is present and invited into our congregation today, that we don't have to go to Asbury to have that same Holy Spirit enter in. And I was also talking to our Nazarene evangelist Jeremiah Bullock this week, and it was so neat to hear him struggle with, are they expecting an Asbury moment from me? And then to overcome that with just the Lord's leading of, I am here with you. I am here with them. I am here with you. And that we don't have to create a moment, but we do within our corporate worship, as well as our individual hearts, have to prepare and be hungry and in anticipation of this. What the student body president did not say is that both in the 1970s when Asbury had their last revival and this one, you know, she acted like just a student body guy got up and was moved, but a group of 6, and then in the 70s, a group prepared and fasted for days and weeks in preparation for revival. And that, you know, oftentimes when we ask for that, we aren't prepared. And oftentimes when it dies, it's because we're not prepared to put in the work. And I think because of the gray area that we've created or allowed to, whatever the reason it is here, you know, it's hard to think, well, I'm not going to go into work Monday if worship is still going on. You know, my kids are not going to be let out, or if they're let out, they're not going to be hungry. Like, we're thinking logically of all the needs that if church, if revival happened and we continued service, that there are logistical things that we would have to sacrifice. I may have to call my boss and say, I'm coming in because I'm here for revival and I want to stay till it lasts. And so I've just really been challenged by Asbury to get to a place, because if I'm being honest, I'm not there, where I could just live in anticipation of God moving and not allow my logistics or my responsibilities to get in the way of that. Because the truth is, I am really hungry for something else. But the sacrifice that I would have to take to get there, you know, I have an oncology appointment this week. Well, would I give that up for revival? You know, my heart says absolutely. But the logistics of I need to make sure I'm healthy are there. You know, I just think to even anticipate and be in discernment about that, there's a readiness that has to happen in us that has to say, we'll take care of, you know, I'll go get the bustle kids and I'll take care of them for 2 hours and then you can take mine. You know, there's just like things that get in our way. And, but I don't want that, you know, but I think, you know, I had someone say, well, those are college kids. They don't have to worry about anything. But they had to ready their hearts, their reconciliation that had to happen. There's, you know, things that can get in your hearts, matters of the heart can get in your way before you're ready for revival. So, but if we all went into service or we didn't leave Sunday school, if something was moving here, we have to be ready for that.
You keep mentioning the gray area. We live in a time when back in the 70s was the origin of the moral majority. I don't know if you remember that. No, you don't remember, but you've heard of it. And all too often, I hear Christians. I do not identify as evangelical anymore, in case you don't know. So, nothing. I'm just not there. Christians, it's like, well, if we can get them to quit drinking, cussing, and having sex, then we've done our job. That what we need is morals reinstituted in the U.S. And no, that's not what we need. This division, the two camps becoming clear, are God preparing the way to do a work. Because what is needed, a moral guy that doesn't know Jesus is still lost. But if he's moral, what's the word I want? The desperation's not there. The intensity's not there. But if he's strung out on a street, he might be more open. Are you understanding what I'm saying? We confused fixing the way we live with coming to Jesus. And they're not the same thing. And God's not interested in taking care of how they live. What do you mean? He took care of it in Jesus. Sin will come. Somebody gets born again over time. Sanctification will work itself out. He is not worried about that. But we got to get them to Jesus. We keep trying to sanctify them before they're saved. And Not everybody agrees on what sanctification looks like in that sense. And we create issues. Any comments on that?
I've been thinking about it, and the fact is that I think that the key point that we saw out of the Asbury stuff was that she was commenting that they're part of the COVID generation. I think that's something that's really important, because the fact is that there's a lot of really sick kids that came out of it. Emotionally, we're seeing extreme issues with mental health, all these issues. And I think it shows that there is a deep want for something. And we have options at this point as a country. We either fill it up with things that are not Christian, or we fill it up and other options that the world will give them, or we give them opportunity to become Christian, to join it, to have God fill them up. Does that make sense?
No, that's the key. It's not necessarily becoming a Christian, but have them meet God.
And so I think it's really easy to focus on all these other things, but it doesn't really matter. We need to be looking for ways that we can reach others so they can experience God, because I think if that happens, we have an opportunity to actually do something that's very powerful. We are at I think in many ways, we are at a point in history that things are changing so rapidly. We have opportunities too.
How many times have you heard me talk about Satan that's sitting on a park bench with a sign, "I'm Satan. Come talk to me." And people are just walking up.
Hi, Don. It's Janie.
Oh, hi, Jamie. What'd she say?
Hi. So I know anything about the Grammy stuff. So as you were talking about it, I looked it up and I found this Forbes article, and this to me says a lot of what you're saying right here. So this is a couple of paragraphs in an article from Forbes magazine. So it's not like some weirdo magazine. It's a magazine that lots of people consider as real mainstream. It says, despite the paranoid delusions of satanic panic, which is like Christians freaking out about this show, it says Satanism, get this, has nothing to do with devil worship. What? It is a non-theistic religion that emphasizes the importance of compassion, reason, and self-determination. Many Satanists have taken steps to educate the public on their practices and beliefs. The devil isn't as one-dimensional as evangelicals make him out to be. He's a folkloric figure who often represents rebellion and against unjust authority. That's the way the world's viewing Satan right now.
Well, thanks to Forbes. Yeah, Satanism has been doing that
Right.
for as long as I can remember. It's absurd, of course. Good point. That's what some kids are going to be taught. You know, you guys come up to me. I've been here a quarter of a century now, right? Since 95, whatever that is. Somebody do the math. And people will come up. I'm worried about my child. She's going off to college or whatever. And they want me to sit down and talk to them and fix in an hour what 20 years of raising them has not done. And it boils down to what Nancy was saying. If your child has met God, you're fine. You've heard my testimony of hearing the audible voice of God when I was 18. That has carried me through unbelievable stuff. It's fine. Because I go back, I can't deny it. I was there. And so you want to tell me God doesn't exist? Well, he's sitting in my living room talking to me. So say all you will. That introducing our children to Jesus is the most important thing we can do. And we have a generation, our culture is at a breaking point. Where's the largest Christian nation right now?
Where's the largest what?
Christian nation. It's probably China. More Christians than any place else. We might be there, but what do we mean by Christian? There are more. It's just God is moving around the world, and the drawing of lines is part of that process. And the opportunity is not so we can point and shove people in one camp or the other. It's so that we can love them and say, what camp do you see yourself in? Anything I can do to help? Can we love people? We seem to be intent on fixing rather than loving. Let them come to Jesus. God will fix them. He will. And it's anyway, I find this whole thing fascinating. And the judgments I'm reading about Asbury online, not many, but they're there. I go, really? Every revival has a huge emotional component to it. It just does. Somebody's going to be crying. Somebody's going to be laughing. It's going to be an emotional connection with God. That's what makes it powerful. What happens is observers throw in the word merely in front of it. It's merely an emotional connection. No, it's a necessary component. So don't be afraid of emotion and don't discount it. Don't deny it. It's real. But that's not just what it is. As I put on a Facebook post, I don't know what's going on, but to that person kneeling in the chapel who had their life transformed, it's a revival. That's all that matters, that one person. So what do? All too often we try to manufacture a revival. All we can do is prepare our hearts, as Nikki was saying. So we read the word. And we gotta, Daniel started off our thing with that prayer. When was that? Just in January, right? Where we did the little prayer chain in the chapel, in the sanctuary. Why are you staring at me like that, Nikki?
Because he prays every Sunday. I was just trying to follow.
Saturday.
That thing where you could come in. So I've devoted my life to understanding the Bible and teaching others how to do it. But prayer is much more important. I mean, Bible is extremely important, don't get me wrong. But the prayer, the personal stuff, that's what's important. That's where I'm weakest. I would suggest that we devote ourselves to prayer and see what God does. And again, revival doesn't have to be large to be real. Comments. John, you're not said a word. Any comments from the Canadian side?
Maybe inside it. Funny. No, your comment about, meeting God, I think about when I was like 17 or like that. I had one of those pivotal moments where I was trying to learn to listen to God, learn to listen to his voice. And I had one of those moments where it was like, it became real to me through, he was telling me what to do. And I'm thinking, is it just my mind telling me to do it? That kind of thing. And I followed and I saw how it worked out. I was like, wow, that was pretty awesome. So that moment, and I've had several others throughout my life that are just those foundational moments where you're like, no one can tell me God isn't real.
My heart was strangely warmed. Who said that? He's just had an event. And then Augustine, hearing an angel on the other side of a fence. It was kids playing, but they said something and it triggered him and took him from Gnosticism to Christianity. He becomes one of the great leaders of the Christian church. So God is real. And think about that. The creator of the universe knows your name. He knows your address. And he'll come. That's not me saying that. Jesus said that. I'm knocking at the door. Will you open? So, and what I take from that is, it's not his problem, it's ours. We're not opening the door. And any comments on that?
Just go further than what I was saying too. Like,
No.
I want my kids to have the same experience.
Yes.
And I want them to have those experiences where they find find that God's real. And I think we have had that. And one thing you emphasized like years ago is like, we need to tell our stories.
Yes.
And so we do that with our kids every now and then. We'll tell them about these times so they see that how God impacted us in our lives. And then they can be looking for that out of God in their lives. And thankfully they've had experiences like that where they're like, wow, that was pretty awesome.
So
Told
you,
them something or whatever.
your daughter and the recovery she's had, to whom do they attribute that? Is it just, oh man, amazing doctors?
God,
They talk about God.
yeah, she actually had an experience where God gave her a verse. And it was about the approach that we were taking. And it just emphasized for her, like, okay, this is the path we need to take. And God is giving it to us. And it has resulted in her healing.
Good. Nikki, so I assume you and Scott are working walking this with Riley.
Oh, yeah, I mean, she could, sometimes she's more spiritually adept than we are. And I mean that by like just pointing out God's goodness, pointing out God's healing. And I think she's able to, I mean, she didn't even fear when we told her about cancer coming back. I mean, she looked at us and said, God told you twice before.
Yeah,
What are you worried about? And it was like,
which is very much aware of what God can do and what he has done. And I mean, even through my sobriety and stuff and her cancer and, you know, just miracle after miracle. And
Well, remember the story of Steph when I got a donation and promptly lost it. Fell out of my book. We were scrambling because I needed that $50 and called my friend. Said, yeah, it's over here. We found it on the front yard. So we went over there. Steffi just looked at me. We're standing in front yard. Why didn't you just have faith, Dad? And it was like that. I don't understand why you were all concerned. God's got this. That's how we do it with your kids and get them doing it. And then you don't have to worry because they're going to have troubles and they have to walk their own path. And that's what we have to do. And how it encourages us when we watch our kids do it. When we go, oh, wow. Believe me, I was convicted. You're right, Steph. Sorry. Now shut up. Let's get in the car. So, any other comments?
I just want to say I'm excited. The stirring doesn't feel scary to me or anything like that. I just feel, I've become more bold and like unapologetic in sharing with my staff and different things like that. And I have the opportunity to be where that is okay. I realize not everyone's in that position, but I'm excited.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we're too lame about our, like this is a really amazing thing to be a part of. I think we've been a part of such sadness and illness and just like really crap stuff we've had to go through in the last couple of years that it's just, I can't wait to see what God does.
As a Bible guy, I watched The Chosen and I just go, it's the icon of our generation. Because, people couldn't read in the Middle Ages. So they did everything by icons. Well, now we're doing it by movies. I mean, the Jesus film, good grief. How many millions have seen that? Now we got The Chosen. A friend of mine made another film using Palestinian actors. And they're got permission from the Muslim cultural attaché to show it throughout the Muslim world. Because Muslims like Jesus. He's a prophet. They don't think he's the son of God. But he showed them the film, they liked it, and they're letting him show it. And he was getting it dubbed in Pakistan, having voice actors. And the actress was watching it, and she just stopped. And she would, stop it. I got to call my mom. Because they're watching the film, she's going to dub it. Why? You got to let me call my mom. So she calls her mom. Her mom comes down there. Start it over. So they started over. And her mom starts screaming. That's her. That's who I saw in my dream. And we're hearing stuff like that all the time. And a mom in a village will have a vision of Jesus and the whole village gets saved. God is at work. And he's also at work in hard, materialistic, crusty West, including the US. And he's going to work through us. Did I offend you? All right, so I'm going to ask Jeff to close us in prayer, please. Wait a minute, I got to stop the recording here. Daniel, I have to delete it. There it goes.